It looks like there is a lot of smoke surrounding Colorado potentially leaving the Big 12, and it could happen very, very soon. Pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and let's talk about it right after a word from our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. What is up, college sports fans, Big 12 fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation, and welcome into another edition of Couz's Corner. Pull that chair up and let me serve you up this shot of top shelf college football content. On tap at Couz's Corner today, we are once again getting back to the subject of conference realignment, possible Big 12 expansion, and the Pac-12 media deal, all wrapped into one. Something I haven't talked about in several shows because I personally just didn't think there was enough to talk about. Wasn't a lot of new news. To be frank, my opinion on this subject had started to change. I was starting to get to the point where I didn't think anything was going to happen. When you go back to early May, April, early May into June, I believe that Colorado would leave the Pac-12 for the Big 12. I said it right here on this show. After all, there were multiple reports by respected media outlets that said there were talks and even substantive talks between the two parties, between Colorado and the Big 12. And I had my own sources telling me that it was likely going to happen, and was even told about an in-person meeting that occurred between Pac-12 conference leadership and the Big 12 conference leadership back in early May. And it's my understanding that meeting did happen. And from what I've been told, that was not the first in-person meeting that occurred between the two parties. But time went on, things started to get quiet, nothing happened. So I kind of changed my mind. I started to come around to the idea that maybe the PAC was close to a media deal that Colorado was going to feel comfortable with, and that maybe the Buffs had decided to fully commit to the PAC and cut off talks with the Big 12. Well, now I'm back on the bandwagon of believing Colorado may just jump ship after all. What has changed my mind? Well, first of all, there has been a major tone change, it appears, or at least a narrative change by media members out west, including John Wilner and John Canzano. Yesterday, Wilner wrote an article in the Mercury News that today has appeared on sports360arizona.com. I'll leave a link to it in the description box. And in that article, Wilner is basically saying that Colorado doesn't fit into any Power 5 conference. He says they have the academic profile of a Pac-12 school and the athletic profile of a Big 12 school. And they geographically fit better in the Big 12. So they're kind of stuck in limbo here a little bit. And it's making it harder for them to know what to do with their future. And it's the tone of it, you could read it as a little bit of a negative tone in this article, kind of saying, hey, Colorado doesn't fit into a Power 5 conference. Now, maybe that's not what Wilner intended, but that is definitely one way you could interpret what he wrote. So all of a sudden, there seems to be a more negative tone toward the Buffs from Pac-12 country. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? In this article, Wilner also brought up the speculation about the Buffs potentially leaving the conference. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but it appears to me that it's the first time he's really acknowledged that it's a good possibility. Now, maybe he has before and I just missed it or forgot about it. Let me know in the comment section. Am I totally wrong on that? Has Wilner pointed out that they could leave? Like I said, I will link to this article in the description box if you want to go check it out, and I do recommend you do. Once this show's over, I recommend you go check out this article by Wilner. It's really well done. He did a good job on it. Now, today, John Canzano, who has arguably been the loudest pro Pac-12 mouthpiece in the media, put out this tweet or post on X, or I don't even know what to call it anymore. But I'm going to pull this up for you guys so you can, and we'll look at it together. And then I want you to give me your thoughts on it in the comments. But here's this tweet from John Canzano, and it says, Colorado getting a test of its patience with Pac-12. And in quotes, it says, lots of pressure on them from inside and outside, per a source. The regents meet today. Lots of people interested in how the Buffaloes manage or handle the next 24 hours. And that's another piece to this. The Colorado Board of Regents scheduled a closed door meeting for today, July 26th. And an athletics issue was on the agenda. As a matter of fact, it appeared that was the only thing on the agenda. So a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of smoke to this story. A lot of smoke. And this is not smoke from the Canadian fires, folks, all the way down in Colorado. There's something to this, in my opinion, or at least there could be. Now, along with that change of tone from PAC country, there are also signs that point to Colorado possibly leaving the PAC very soon. Number one, let's look at last week's Pac-12 Media Day, where Colorado AD Rick George appeared at the event on stage as part of a panel to discuss the college football playoff. And then immediately, as soon as that was over, he immediately scurried out the door without taking any questions from the media. Very, very strange. And only saying, basically, I have a plane to catch. Now, barring a family emergency, which could have happened, it makes no sense. Why in the world would an AD at a Pac-12 school schedule a flight right in the middle of his conference's media day event? That makes absolutely no sense to me. Like I said, maybe something came up, maybe an emergency. That's possible. I'm not saying that's out of the question. But outside of that, it makes absolutely no sense, and it's really bad optics. And it does not look good for the Pac-12. Those optics do not, him leaving like that so quickly with all of these rumors out there. And what made it even more puzzling is it was right off the heels of his chancellor saying just a couple of days prior to this that he had hoped to see numbers on the media deal like that week before or during the media day event. Well, guess what, folks? That did not happen. They did not see those numbers. So it appears that CU could potentially be losing their patience with the Pac-12, which lines up with exactly what John Canzano said in that tweet. Man, I'm telling you, if you just tie all these things together, I'm the type of person I like to sit back and look at the tea leaves and see what the tea leaves are telling me, and I'm not right 100% of the time, and I could be wrong on this. But I'm telling you, folks, all the tea leaves and all the signs are pointing to Colorado potentially leaving the Pac-12 and going back to the Big 12. And let's not forget, folks, Sam Bradshaw with Sikkim 365 Sports wrote an article just, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, about how Colorado has missed out on approximately $70 million worth of athletic revenue since leaving the Big 12 for the Pac-12. It's cost them a lot of money. They've missed out on earning an additional $70 million by leaving the Big 12. That's a big deal, folks. That's a lot of money. Now, I understand the argument about academics. I know there's a lot of academic endowment money and all these things, fundraising money and all this that's impacted as well. I know it's not 100% solely about athletics, but that's what we're talking about today. And we all know athletics is the front porch to these universities. It helps them with exposure. It helps them to get more students into the school, all those types of things. And if there are donors out there who are pressuring DeStefano, the chancellor, maybe the president, maybe Rick George, if there are donors out there who are pressuring them, big money donors at that, pressuring them to go back to the Big 12, then you know they're going to listen to that. And word on the street is, from everything I'm hearing, and I think Wilner even mentions it in his article, Deion Sanders wants to be in Texas, folks. He wants to recruit Texas, and it appears at least, whether this is the right decision or wrong decision, but it appears that what Deion Sanders wants, he's getting. And maybe he could be pushing a lot of this behind the scenes for them to get into the Big 12. Let's keep going. Then a couple of days ago, a report from Front Office Sports came out about Apple wanting to be all in on any media deals they do with sports entities. They even went as far as to say they don't want just a single game from 8 to 10 p.m. Now, I paraphrase that. It may not have been the exact quote, but in a nutshell, they said, hey, we don't want just one game a week. We want it all. We want the whole package. And that is consistent with what we've been hearing all along from folks in the media, that when Apple does a deal with somebody, they typically want the whole thing. Now, it doesn't mean they can't get the deal and then sub these things out. But from when you listen to folks in the media who follow these kind of things and who are knowledgeable about these kind of things and the way these deals are done, I don't think Apple's going to want to sublease their primary games to other networks, they're going to want to air those on the Apple platform. So that's not going to please a lot of the members in the Pac-12. A lot of the teams like a Colorado, like an Arizona and Arizona State may not get a lot of those prime time key games, which that kind of segues into this. There was a tweet that was put out by the Monty Show a few days ago. Now, I know the Monty Show, some people don't like the Monty Show. He can be a little bit controversial at times. He's kind of like a shot jock at times. But when you take a look at this tweet, I think you'll see there could be something to this. Here's the tweet, the first tweet from the Monty Show. It says, TV industry sources tell me Apple and the Pac-12 are indeed working on an agreement, but multiple Pac-12 presidents have pushed back on Tier 1 streaming altogether, as well as streaming more than 50% of the conference's sports content. Now, that was part one of his tweet. Here's part two. I am also told Apple has been receptive to an agreement on Pac-12 football only, not all Pac-12 sports. That does not change here's the key, though. That does not change the equation for Pac-12 presidents on Tier 1 streaming and percentage of Pac-12 football games on stream. In a nutshell, a lot of the Pac-12 presidents do not want their games on streaming platforms, period. They want to be on network channels or at least cable channels, not on Apple TV. And that could be causing a lot of these presidents to push back on an Apple deal, even if the money's there. It's not all about money. Exposure is a big piece of this, which we've talked about ad nauseum on this show, and then you've heard it on a lot of others as well. And then he later put out this tweet, the Monty Show did. It says this, and this was all yesterday. Amazing phone call with a frustrated communications director in the Pac-12 who was upset I tweeted about Apple and Pac-12, who admitted the conference is working to, quote, better control the narrative, end quote. This conference is a mess. And Monty talked about this on his show yesterday. He received a phone call from someone at the Pac-12 saying, hey, you need to take your tweets down. He obviously didn't do that. He left them up. And that, look, you cannot believe Monty. You can believe Monty, whatever. That's totally up to you. But to me, if you tie this in with all of the other information that's out there, man, there's a lot of smoke and it's very thick. And like I said earlier, I don't think it's coming from the wildfires in Canada. It's coming from all the speculation, the potential growing impatience from Colorado. They want to see a deal. They're not seeing a deal, and they have a decision to make as to whether or not they can leave. And today, Jason Shear, I don't have this one to share with you, but today Jason Shear put out a tweet. But he's hearing rumors that the Pac-12 or that Colorado rather has a bit of a deadline to make a decision on whether to rejoin the Big 12 or not, and that might be why there's so much smoke coming out and so many things coming out this week. Now, he said he couldn't confirm it. It's just a rumor at this point, but that is something else to consider here with all of this other information. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section, Couz's Corner family. What do you think about all of this smoke, all this speculation? Do you think Colorado ends up leaving the Pac for the Big 12? Do you think all of this smoke, all of these signs are pointing in that direction? Do you think the narrative change out west is pointing in that direction? Let me know, please, in the comments. Also, guys, please, if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up button if you like this video. Please share it with your friends. Please hit the subscribe button so you'll be notified of future videos, and it'll also help out the channel. You can also help me financially, guys, right here by checking out my merch store. I have T-shirts, ball caps, hoodies, coffee mugs, iPhone cases, a lot of different products to choose from. Go check it out, please. You can subscribe to the channel by hitting the join button below. You can make a one-time donation with a little heart thanks button below. All of that helps me out. You can also, don't forget, guys, go check out our sponsor. When you're in the market for a vehicle, go check out our good friends over at Dutch Miller Automotive. Whether you're in West Virginia, whether you're in El Dorado, Kansas, Charlotte, North Carolina, Bristol, Tennessee, Wytheville, Virginia, they have locations in all of those places. Go check it out for your next vehicle purchase. Or if you just need some service work done, they can take care of that as well. With that being said, I really appreciate you tuning in to this episode. And until the next one, Q Country Roads.